Good morning, Wednesday, right? I think it's Wednesday morning here in Anaheim, California. We're out here for the National Association of Realtors convention, and so my timing is all messed up, right? So anyway, but here I am. No Limits by John Maxwell. Um, Chapter 10 is the responsibility capacity, right? Your choice to take charge of your life, right? Why do you want to be responsible for your own life? Duh. Um, that's pretty that's pretty simple, right? Because um, if you're not responsible for your own life, who is going to be responsible? And a lot of times people will they'll abdicate responsibility, right? Not my fault. Stuff that happens, not my fault. Um, we need to overcome that, right? If we want to increase our capacity and live a life with no limits, we need to be responsible. We need to take responsibility. um, Grant Cardone take responsibility for everything. Responsibility is um, well, no, he says it's different. Success is your responsibility, your obligation, right? um, but being responsible for yourself um, is how you get through life, right? Being responsible for the things that happen, right? Take responsibility and fix things if things are wrong, right? Um, John Maxwell has a list. Can you believe it? Right. Number one, he says responsibility creates the foundation for your success, right? On any major scale, success requires you to accept responsibility, right? Um, the one quality all successful people have is the ability to take on responsibility, right? And that's the price of greatness, right? Um, the it responsibility is um, what's the is taking charge, right? Taking charge. Um, One of the reasons it says successful people are successful is they see and they seize opportunities, right? Um, and a lot of times people go, "I wish I had that. I wish I had that chance." You do, right? We see the results of what people do without always seeing what happened on the back end, right? Them taking the responsibility for that. Um, Number two, responsibility puts you in control of your life, right? John Maxwell wrote another book. It's called Intentional Living, right? And um, he says many people think about their lives as something that just happens to them instead of something that they can control themselves, and they drift through life reacting to the actions of others instead of taking steps on their own behalf, right? And those people just like float around, right? Um, the way to take control of the direction of your life is take responsibility for yourself and your everyday actions, right? Um, he said somebody came up to him at a conference a while back and said, 10 years ago, you gave me the greatest advice I ever received. And when he asked what it was, he said, you challenged me to get control of my life or somebody else would. Um, and that's so true, right? That is so true. Take control of your life. If you if you don't like where you're working, don't work there, right? And just plain and simple. I see this all the time. I just, you deal with people that are in the service industry or in retail or whatever, and they just hate their job. Don't work there. There's plenty of other stuff for you to do, right? Um, I, I I I don't have I don't have the solution to anybody except don't work there. Yeah, that's it. So that answer is so easy, right? It is so easy. Um, Number three, responsibility builds your self-esteem, right? Taking responsibility and being proud of what you accomplished, right? When you're faced with a difficult choice to do what you know is right and you do it, how does that make you feel? Makes you feel good, doesn't it? Gives you a sense of inner satisfaction, makes you feel strong, right? Repeated choices to take responsibility gives you mental and emotional momentum, right? Number 4, responsibility makes you ready for action, right? Action springs not from thought, but from readiness for responsibility. That comes from Dietrich Bonhoeffer, right? Taking responsibility helps us to become self-starters, right? The fastest person is not always the one who wins the race. Often it's the one who started first, right? Number 5, responsibility makes your habits serve you, right? If we are responsible for ourselves, then we will create good habits, right? I'm responsible for what I eat. I'm responsible for whether or not I exercise. I'm responsible for whether or not I take time to reflect, right? Those are all responsibilities, right? Positive habits are decisions that we make one time, decisions that we make one time and then take responsibility to manage every day, right? When we make good decisions and manage that decision every day, we can see results, right? Think about good habits versus bad habits, right? I like the excuses. Making excuses is a habit, right? The habit of making excuses creates reasons in our minds for not being responsible for our lives. Every time we make an excuse, we fail to learn from our mistakes. Excuses put blame on others or on circumstances that cause you to give up power to change your life, right? Another negative habit, the habit of feeling entitled. The world owes me, right? Whether we win or lose, we should get a trophy. Whether we work or play, we should be paid, right? Whether we do good or not, people should tell us, that we're good. We deserve the praise, right? We feel entitled. We want somebody else to sponsor us in life without making any effort on our own, right? That's a tough one, isn't it? Feeling entitled. I should get paid. I showed up for work today, right? I showed up for work today. I should get paid. I deserve a raise. Number 6, responsibility earns you respect and authority, right? People will respect you if you take the, if you, I don't want to say take the blame, but that's true, but that's it. If something goes right, you can take, give the praise to somebody else. But if something goes wrong, take the blame, right? I was in charge. I was steering the ship. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who, was actually on the rudder, right? Stephen Covey says, he writes about taking responsibility for handling difficult conversations. He says, say what's on your mind. Don't hide your agenda. Talk straight. Tell the truth. Leave the right impression, right? Most employees don't think their bosses communicate honestly, and that creates this trust gap, right? He calls it a trust tax, and causes speed to go down, cost to go up. We spend entirely too much time trying to figure out the truth from the spin, right? What's the truth? Responsibility earns you respect and authority if people, tell the truth. So he tells a story. He tells a story about he did a speech. He did a speech for somebody um, at a speaking engagement he did for a friend of his. He had and he said he had spoken several times before, and um, his message. He says my message was called "Today Matters." He said, but as I was speaking, I could tell something wasn't quite right. It wasn't bad. I could just tell it didn't serve them as well as I wanted to. And he said I was scheduled to have dinner that night with his friend, and then fly out later that night. He said on the way to dinner, um, he called his assistant, and she told him, you know what, this is the speech you gave last year. He gave the same speech, right? And at dinner, he apologized. He apologized to the guy, and the guy said, "No problem." Said it was nice to hear the message a second time, but that's not what he had paid for, right? He didn't pay for the same message. And he said, "Well, I want to come back next year at my own expense and speak again for no charge, and I want to apologize to your people tomorrow morning before your first session." And he said, "I can do that for you." And he said, "No, I'm the one that made the mistake. I need to apologize." So he changed his flight, stayed over an extra night, and apologized to the people. And then came back the next year and gave a different speech. He gave a different speech, right? So be responsible. You make a mistake, own up to it. It's not the end of the world, right? It's not the end of the world. So increasing your responsibility capacity. The questions on page 185 in the past. Have you ever connected the ideas of taking responsibility and increasing your capacity? Probably not, unless we've been intentional about it. How specifically do you think becoming more responsible could help you in your personal life and your career? Not making excuses, living up to it, owning it, own it. Right? Number 2, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself when it comes to being ready to take action? And how might taking greater responsibility increase your readiness, right? If you knew that whatever project you were working on, whatever issue you were coming up with, there was going to be no excuse. It was going to fall squarely on your shoulders. Would that make a difference in your preparation for that, whatever it was? Number 3, what positive habits would you like to cultivate that could be facilitated by taking greater responsibility? Eating better, exercising more. Those are just 2 that come to mind, right? Maybe because those are 2 that I sometimes struggle with, right? And then what decision must you make to start the habit, and what actions must you take daily to manage that decision? Remember, the reflection is key, right? The reflection, answering the questions, is key to this book being worth something to you. It could be worth $20, or it could be worth $1 million, right? One idea from a book, people say, well, I don't want to pay that much for a book. It's not worth it. It's not about the cost of the book. It's about what does it do for you? So, hey, so if you know somebody, right, that might be interested in making themselves better, a little bit at a time, right? Small things done consistently over time. Have them join Millionaire Mindset Book Club. We'd love to see them here. We'd love to hear your comments, your concerns, your ideas, your reflections on the book. I appreciate any comments, likes, whatever. Let's share what we're learning with each other, because different perspectives, right? People have a little bit different perspective. Maybe you hear something. Remember, what you're getting from these episodes is my take, what the things that I think are the takeaway moments from the chapter. But if you're reading the book, you may not have the same things might not resonate with you. So I would love to hear what it is that you have to say as well. So anyway, that's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow morning right here, Millionaire Mindset Book Club. Get out there and make today the greatest day of your life so far. Bye.